thank you very much for being here for the screening of 3 songs for Benazir, and then, of course, Hava, Maryam, Ayesha. These 2 films constitute part of our program dedicated to Afghan cinema at the Hong Kong Asian Film Festival this year. So, of course, well, there are other films as well in this particular program. All of them are, well, it forms our modest program in which we hope audiences could understand a little bit better about, well, Afghan cinema, what filmmakers have achieved for the past 20 years, from the ersting of Taliban rule in 2001 all the way up until today. Of course, until August this year, when, well, history repeated itself when the Taliban returned to power in Kabul and also in Afghanistan again. So again, well, we have 3 guest speakers today with us to share with you their experiences of making films in Afghanistan and also their views on Afghan cinema in the past, present, and future. And our guest speakers are already here. So shall we extend a round of applause for our speakers first? Okay, maybe I shall introduce our 3 speakers today. Firstly, we have Sahraa Karimi, who's the director of Hava, Maryam, Ayesha, the film that you have just seen. Sahraa has just temporarily disappeared from our screen, but Sahraa is now in Rome, where he teaches film studies. And of course, Sahraa, before August this year, she's not just a filmmaker, but also head of the state-run Afghan Film organization. Welcome, Sahraa.
Hi, everybody. First of all, I would like to hi to Roya, because after a long time I saw her, so I'm happy to.
Yes. Yes,
can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you. But I think your screen is maybe you have to switch your phone the other way around. Yes. Yes, yeah. It is.
So first of all, I would like to say hi to Roya, because she is here also, and I'm happy she is healthy. We have always some arguments, but there is no doubt that I love her so much because of being the first woman in the history of Afghan cinema after fall of Taliban. She made films, so I'm so happy she's in this panel. And hi to everybody, to audience, and thank you very much for watching my film, and thank you very much for participating in this discussion. And also thank you very much for inviting me to this virtual discussion.
Thank you very much, Sahraa. And of course, as Sahraa mentioned, our second speaker, Roya Sadat, she's the first woman filmmaker in Afghanistan. She made her first feature, 3 Dots, in the year 2003. So 2 years after the end of Taliban rule in 2001. Roya also made other films as well. She established her own film and television production company, the first of its kind in the country. And then afterwards, she made commercials, TV series, and of course, well, in the year 2017, she made the film A Letter to the President, which, of course, we are going to show in this program. So thank you, Roya, for joining us. Roya.
Thank you so much. Hello, everybody. Hello, Sandra. Salam, Sahraa. Very nice meeting you all. And thanks for this opportunity to talk about Afghan cinema. Actually, as Sahraa said, it's after a long time, we just see each other through internet, and unfortunately, the situation is very bad, and it's very hard to me to talk after again, the Taliban came to my country, and I talk about Afghan cinema. And right now, I'm really not in a good mode to talks, but thanks for this opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much, Roya. Our first speaker today is Sandra Schafer, a German filmmaker, artist, and academic. Sandra is a specialist in Afghan cinema. She's got a front row seat in the resurgence of Afghan cinema after the end of Taliban rule in the year 2001, because Sandra actually went to Afghanistan and visited the set of Osama, Siddiq Barmak's film in 2003. She was there to witness how the film was produced, and also she documented the lives of women in Afghanistan during that time, and also produced a lot of work, exhibitions, installations, books about Afghan cinema in general. So Sandra, thank you very much for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation. And for me, it's also really, a special moment actually to see Roya again after a very long time, but also to get to know Sarah's work better and to hear you, because I heard a lot about your work and about you. And it's for me also a special moment to have a Hong Kong audience actually to talk to and to share our experiences with. So, but it's, I think for all of us, a hard moment right now, because everybody is busy with also helping still people to get out of Afghanistan. So it's, I think, not an easy moment, but nevertheless important to meet and to talk. So it's so thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Our plan was also to have another Afghan filmmaker, Diana Saqeb, to be with us. Diana is an activist and also a filmmaker and artist. Her film, 25%, will be screened in our program as well. But unfortunately, Diana has a medical emergency, so she wouldn't be able to make it to our meeting today, but she sends her regards to you all, and also, of course, to our audience in Hong Kong. But we do hope that there will be an opportunity again for Diana to meet our audiences very soon. So to kick off the panel, maybe we'll start with Sarah, because actually we just saw the audience here, they just saw your film, Hava, Maryam, Ayesha. So Sarah, can you talk a little bit about this particular film? So what was the motivation back then, okay, when you began to nurture the idea of this film and also to make this film back in 2019?
I think when you are a female film director, especially from countries such as Afghanistan, woman stories are always very important for you as a female filmmaker. But for me, femininity in general and women's issue in particular were very, very important always, even during my study in Europe and even when I returned to Afghanistan. So I always follow stories of many women inside Afghanistan. And I had opportunity always to make films outside of Afghanistan, especially when I was a student. And I made documentaries, short fiction films. But when I wanted to make my feature film, I decided to return to Afghanistan. And I knew that there are female filmmakers like Roya Sadat, Sadat, that they are making film there. So they gave us this hope that, okay, we can return and we can make films inside Afghanistan. When I returned to Afghanistan, I realized that I don't know a lot about women of my country, because all of my life I was refugee. I was refugee in Iran, and then I went to Slovakia. I studied there. So I knew my general information about women of my own country, but I didn't know about particular stories, particular issues. So I decided not to make film immediately. So I traveled a lot. and I was working with UNICEF, so that made it possible to travel a lot in very, very remote areas, remote villages, provinces, and talk with many women. When I talk with women and rural women, urban women, educated, uneducated, housewife, intellectual, whatever, I came to this conclusion that it doesn't matter that with which background you are educated or housewife, or you are like independent, financially independent woman, or you are dependent to your husband. As long as you are under umbrella, under rules of very patriarchal society and very anti-woman society and very so-called that traditional society, your destiny and your life will be the same. So with this general idea, I started to write the story. But I asked also my friend, Hasib Nabizadeh, that he's a scriptwriter and filmmaker himself. I asked him that if he helped me to write down the story, because I wanted also to see a man's point of view. So I read the first draft, and then he wrote the second draft, and then I read the final version of the script. So Roya is here, so she can also explain. There are many cliches about filmmaking in Afghanistan, because many people, especially producers, many production companies, they think that we couldn't make film inside Afghanistan. It is impossible. So they didn't really help many filmmakers inside Afghanistan to produce like films with like universal standard, and so we forced to make film independently. Before me, Roya made her film like a letter to president or from president.
Letter to the president.
To president. She made her film. And I think it also shows that, okay, there is possibility to make films. So I followed her, and I made my film. So actually, to be honest, we were the only film directors that we independently produced and made our film, and without any help of international big productions. But so I made this film, and I wanted that general idea that I had, that I wanted to portray different women with different backgrounds, just to show that if you are forced to live in society like Afghanistan, that there are many judgments about women and many limitations for women because of the tradition and because of patriarchal society. So as you saw in the film, you end up under one roof, and also there is always another cliche about Afghanistan. They think that all Afghan women are suffering because of burqa or hijab or whatever else. But you know, I wanted also to show that there are very universal issues, universal struggles that women of Afghanistan are facing too. For example, pregnancy, motherhood. It doesn't matter that you are from Afghanistan, so you should always should solve like problem of burqa or war or whatever. Behind this all struggles that as a country, as a nation, we were facing and we are facing, there are stories that women really facing with, and they are trying to solve it, like pregnancy, like being a mother. Like for some woman, pregnancy is a blessing. For some woman, pregnancy is just another limitation. For some woman, pregnancy is and motherhood is something like that that cut them from being happy. So these things I wanted also to show in my film. So for that, I decided to put each point of view to different stories.
Indeed, I mean, as Sarah said, there are indeed a lot of cliches about Afghanistan, about how the country is perceived around the world. People do think that, well, the country might, well, for example, women are usually, well, confined to their homes with burqas, tilling the land, just stuck in the family. So this is something that actually Sarah's film showed that it's not true. I mean, there are women in all walks of life. I mean, doing different jobs, different classes, but of course the problems they face might be similar. So I think this is also something that Roya's films have done, because she's produced so many films. So from Three Dots in 2003 all the way to A Letter to the President in 2017, which is actually a film about a very a woman who's serving in the government. He's a very well educated, an individual who is quite different from the stereotypical representation of an Afghan woman. So, Roya, can you talk a little bit about yourself and how you came to making films?
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's always the hard question from me because sometimes I didn't have the exactly answer from what time and what happening that I start to make movie. Of course, I have a very long story. Sometimes it's very tragic and sometimes funny. So I start my work as I just remember that when I was at the school, I have interesting with the theater. In my city, in Herat city, which is in the north of Afghanistan, there was an old theater, and the men play role for women, and they had each week one theater direct show for the people, and also the national TV broadcast this show. So I just like, and it was sometimes it was funny for me that why the men played the role of women, because no any women wanted, and the people, the society didn't accept their woman or young daughter go and play as a women actress or something. Then I start to write some theater, and I start with telling story, short story, poetry, or something like that. And then I made my first theater when I was at 5th class at the school. And for my teachers, for the classmates, and then after 2-3 theater for a different celebration, for example, for the 8th of March or any other celebration that we had at the school. And then the national TV, they start to broadcast this show, because in our theater, it was the first time that the young daughters from the school, they play role as a woman. And of course, but that time we didn't have classmate man as a classmate to play role the man. So the women play the role, the men and women. I start with that theater, and I was worried when it first time it's going to broadcast in Herat city, because at that time, lots of people, especially some, we have Shura Mullah, that they are, always they talked again that theater, that national theater that we had in Herat. So after that, I see lots of people in the city, especially in many other schools, they was happy, and they invite our team to have show for different schools. So my work started with this theater. And then when the Taliban came in 1995, when the Taliban came in Afghanistan, and unfortunately, I was one of the victims we cannot go to school. And for 5 years, I was at home with my sisters, with my family. And my mother and my aunt tried to educate us and we improve our school classes. And then I decided to make my first film, Saqeb. But at that time, I just had access for one book about direction, how you direct, it's frame by frame, the name of the book. And I started to write the story, but I just was worried that when I finish and when the Taliban leave the country and I give a chance to make this movie, I was worried that it will become a film or not. I talk about the 3 dots. So finally, with in a very hard situation that we didn't have a digital camera at that time in Herat city. And then I get contact with some journalists introduced me to Afghan Film in Kabul, and we give through the help of Mr. Siddiq Barmak, he sent us a camera and one system for the sound recording. And finally, I shoot 3 dots in 2002, actually. And 1 year after that, I was waiting to find another person to come to Herat. I just was going to many hotels in Herat city and asked them if any journalist or filmmaker come to Herat city, please let me know, because I was just searching for one camera to capture my films for editing. And there wasn't any film company or edit box or edit room. And I do edit of this film to a shop that they just editing the wedding movie. So, and in the same times I finish my school and I start for university. From the way of a school, go to this shop for editing. And so it was, the background is very tragedy and at the same time very funny. So finally in 2003, when this film became finished and we give the opening ceremony in Herat city inside of that theater. So I sitting in the last round of the audience because I was worried when the film became finished, what will be the reaction of the people, and it will be become a film or not. So, but the good things, 3 Dot was a very good start for me, and the people in Herat city and after that in Kabul, and they liked the movie. And with this movie, my work introduced to some other country like France, Germany, and then my sister start and another good things with this is starting that time, the Human Rights Commission, they give the rights of this movie, and they give small money for this film, and then we buy a small camera and edit machine. And slowly we start to register Roya Film House, and and then start my long way for 20 years to work very hard to cinema, to TV drama, yeah.
Yeah, actually, Roya, you mentioned this film, the first film that you made, 3 Dots. Actually, you sent me the trailer for this. So maybe because we couldn't screen this film in our program, but maybe we can just show this trailer to our audiences so that, well, they could understand what your first film is like. So maybe we can do the share screen thing. Okay, and then the 3 Dots trailer, I think. Yes. Yes.
روز پیش مافی رو سخت کردیم بیارم به خاطر زمان که نفر یه خون کار کرده 2 روز پیش مافی رو سخت کرده بودیم بیارم به خاطر زمان که نفر یه خون کار کرده
بشیرو و من نوار مرد نام ما دنگ میکنم تو قریمی رو با موهیبه با مبادا کار بکو که گلاب رود به نوشه خبر نشه
میگم اسرار ما به خاطر بچه‌های لاقلچ تو. خوب گوش کن. اگر از جایی شنیدم پس سرنوشت سمت دچار میشی.
So this is the trailer for Three Dots, and Roya just talked about the story behind the film. So maybe we'll switch to Sandra, because Sandra, I think around the time Roya was making this film in the year 2002, 2003, actually you were there in Afghanistan, weren't you? I mean, watching, looking at the production of films there, talking to women in Afghanistan. So what was the situation like? Actually, why did you go to Afghanistan in the first place back then?
Yeah, it was actually exactly the same time, Roya, that you started to make films, which is interesting for me to see or not to hear again, because I knew when did you finish your film in 2003. And I went to Afghanistan in November 2002 because I was in Iran and I wanted to meet Mohsen Makhmalbaf, the Iranian filmmaker Mohsen Makhmalbaf. And he happened to be in Afghanistan at that time. So his family told me, so if you want to meet him, the only chance to talk to him and to meet him is that you should go to Afghanistan. And that was also part of the Iranian film team, a cameraman and also sound recordist who were traveling there to help Siddiq Barmak for the making his film Osama at that time. So that's what we did basically. We took the same flight and I went together with other filmmakers, with Iranian filmmaker Sonia Shafi'i, together to Kabul in November 2002. And the idea was first that we wanted to talk to Mohsen Makhmalbaf, but then we ended up being by far more involved in the making and filming of Osama and got to know Siddiq Barmak and also the filming that started at that time, which was incredibly, particular and exciting, I must say. So, and the first day of filming, for example, of the film Osama, which I think some of the audience saw it yesterday, maybe in the festival. It's the first Afghan feature film that was made in Kabul after the collapse of the Taliban regime in 2002. And the first scene that was filmed was the reenactment of protest of women against the prohibition to work during the Taliban regime back in 1996. This reenactment, was somehow a strange situation because it was, I will show you a clip from that, but that was when I actually started to get involved with filmmakers, when I got to know Ahl Rezai, for example. She was at that time a lay actress. She just had played in the film of Samira Makhmalbaf for the first time. She was a teacher at that time. So filmmakers came back from exile and it was celebrating also this first scene to be filmed. Filmmakers who had stayed in the country and those who had just started to get involved and also continue to work as filmmakers or in the film scene. So, and it was very different also from all I knew back then. It was very little, I must say, I knew about Afghanistan, that I had the feeling it had nothing to do also with this whole victimization that was taking place also in relation to the women that I got to know on the set, and which made me become very interested, particularly in the role and situation of women, because I had the impression that there has been an incredible instrumentalization of the women's question already with internationally, but also locally on many different levels. So, and that's why I got involved into that actually. And that was then a kind of long-term collaboration, getting to know Roya and so on, and organizing festivals, getting to know activists and going back and forth between Berlin. We organized festivals in different cities in Germany and Kabul. And so that was, I don't know, friendships and so on.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, as Sandra said, actually, apart from making films, for example, Roya established the International Women's Film Festival in Herat. And of course, Sahraa eventually became the head of the Afghan Film Organization, the first woman to occupy this position in the history of Afghanistan. But as Sandra mentioned, we can actually maybe show a clip of Sandra shot back in 2002, 2003, 2002 about the making of Osama, on the set of Osama. Actually, we can see how films were made back then. I mean, the energy which swept Afghanistan and also, well, which energized Afghan cinema again after the collapse of the Taliban regime. This is particularly about the scene of the demonstration which begins the film Osama. So maybe we can have a look at this particular clip.
مستر مرا چی فیلم برداری میکنه اونو زنها رو فیلم برداری مرا چی میکنه حال طالبا به اقال پرد خود ایران برد
خب میریم میگیریمش آماده سکوت خاموش باشین یک دقیقه وطن دارم خاموش خاموش صدا دوربین حرکت
مستر مرا چی میکنه مرا فیلم برداری میکنه اون زنها رو فیلم برداری کو مرا چی میکنه مرا چی میکنه اون زنها رو فیلم برداری کو مستر مرا چی میکنه حال طالبا میای اقال پرد خودت به ایران بردی
Okay, this is part of the footage of the film Sandra made from her time back in Afghanistan, Passing the Rainbow. So actually, maybe I'll just again go to Sahraa again because I have to say you belong to a different generation. So when you watched Osama, so what was your feeling back then? I mean, to see a film like that about your own country when you first watched Osama.
I'm sorry. I don't know. I just become so emotional.
Indeed, I mean to look at these historical images. Indeed, it must be very powerful to you.
Because this is the same situation like you see in this film now happening in Kabul. You know, just our women, our girls, they don't wear any more burqa, but they are also shouting, we want to work and we are hungry.
Yeah, maybe what you're saying, Sahraa, is you know, what you're now saying, also what at that time when they were filming in 2002, it was also the present claims were also their claims for work, you know, to earn money and to earn money and for compassion. But of course, and that was intersecting what they were claiming in the past. But it was a bit better situation they were in November 2002. So and
this
now,
is like when you think that we started from zero, like Roya started her film from nothing, then Osama with help of like Mahmal Baf and other countries. We started like, I remember that when Roya started the film festival, Herat Film Festival, my film, my master degree film, like Nasima Light Bridge, was the first film shown in her film festival. I remember that she wrote me that she wants the film, and I sent it. So we did a lot of efforts. We did a lot, you know. Barmak started, and then Roya started, and then many other people started, and you saw some of those people in this film. They made films like Humayun Faiz, who is still in Afghanistan. He couldn't get out of Afghanistan, unfortunately, during the evacuation. He couldn't make it. So we did a lot. Like even AfghanFilm, I think, made many efforts. I just joined AfghanFilm 2 years ago. And there were a lot of problems, of course, because government didn't even support AfghanFilm. Government didn't support filmmakers, independent filmmakers. Government even didn't care about filmmakers in general. It didn't matter that they are independent or they are state filmmakers. So we faced many struggle and problems, but filmmakers, especially independent filmmakers, documentary filmmakers, with the help of international like co-production, with the help of like some producers and some of them like independently, they made films. And this past 5-6 years, we really, especially female filmmakers, were everywhere in big platforms. They screened their films. They got many awards. They were like a kind of ambassador of Afghan cinema in many big platforms. But unfortunately now the situation is the same. The Taliban came back to power and they took over the entire Afghanistan and Kabul and our government. So they just announced that they are not going to support any more artists. They are not going to support cinema, like cinema in as we know as a audiovisual valuable product. And many filmmakers, they just left the country. Like I am here sitting somewhere in the Rome, Italy. Roya is in US, somebody in France, somebody like we just left. And when we left, we were those who really, we had courage and we really struggled with anything. I myself, when I became a head of Afghan Film, I faced many struggles, even you cannot imagine, because I was just a woman, because I didn't want to give up. I just started to do some fight against corruption, against some bureaucratic nonsense. So I faced many problems, many attack from social media till the government, inside the government, from filmmakers, from non-filmmakers. But still every day I woke up and I told myself that, okay, we are going to continue because we want to change the narrative about Afghanistan and the story, and we want to show toward the new stories. But unfortunately, then politically everything changed, and this new group that they returned back to power, they are very, very anti-cinema. They are very, very anti-artists and filmmaking. And I am sure that they are not going to support independent film. They are going to use censorship as much as they can. They are not letting us as a woman to make films. So Afghan cinema right now, it is in exile. We are in exile. Even we can make film. Of course, we can make films outside of Afghanistan because filmmaking is universal language and universal ability. But making films inside Afghanistan was more important for us because we could show different picture and different story from Afghanistan. And now, when you are in exile, when you are facing new problems, because when you cut from your identity, from your country, from your homeland, it is not just cutting. You are struggling with new environment, with new culture, with everything new, and it needs amount of energy you put to restart again your life as a professional person, as a citizen of that society, and so on. So it is not very easy. It is not very easy, but to be honest, I believe in Afghan female filmmakers. In few of them, I believe really. One of them is Roya, and one of them, her sister, Alka. I believe in her from the beginning. I saw her short movie. I think she is one of the best documentary filmmakers we had ever in Afghanistan. So I believe that or two other filmmakers and also like men, if we continue like to make films or to continue to create any kind of art, so we show that we are not going to give up and we are not going to stop. So at least to dream that one day we return to Afghanistan and we will continue. And I hope every single day I hope that I wake up and they tell me that okay, it is over, yeah, and you can return. So this is what I dream every day.
So Roya, what do you think? Because you are, as Sara said, you are also in exile as well. You are now living in Virginia, US. Of course, I think you told me that you left Afghanistan earlier this year, actually to do another project about a documentary on the women negotiators at the talks with the Taliban, but somehow you ended up not being able to go back to Afghanistan. So what do you think the future holds for you? I mean, now that you couldn't be back in Afghanistan, making films there, I mean, after spending so many years in your home country, developing films, film festivals, and your own production company.
Yeah, it's not easy to talk about this part. Actually, when I watched the behind the scene from the Osama movie, when we watched this movie, I just thought maybe it's belong for the history of Afghanistan. But unfortunately, again, this time is a repeat to Afghanistan. And like the same way, now the women sometimes on the street, they doing demonstration and they ask for their role, for their rights of education, for works, for lots of special the economic situation, the society. For this 20 years after 11 September, after the Taliban left Afghanistan, we pay a lot to rebuild our society after the many years of the war, after civil war, Russian war. So some things, as Sahraa said, we start from the zero in the culture part, in cinema, civil society, free media. So we built from the zero and we work very hard. Like, for example, the Afghan media was during this 20 years the independent and very active, special and term of the free speech, free media, the best in our neighbor part, in the center of Asia and south of Asia. But unfortunately, we lose everything. And still, it's for me, sometimes I think I'm in shock. And it's unbelievable that for 1 day, I just seen the news that the Taliban coming and capture all the city, Herat city, and then Kabul. And then my colleagues called for me. They was worried to what we're doing for the archive. I'm sorry. So it's really hard time for all of us. And when I was here to just think, talk for a film, my film producer, she was finding a company to do the post-production. We're doing post-production for this documentary that we following this 4 women who was on the negotiation part from the Republic side to talk with the Taliban. I just was coming to US to talk with this company for post-production of our documentary. And also it was the beginning talk to work for the opera. And when I see the situation change and the Taliban took all the country, and then we decided to stay, of course, it's right now it's very dangerous for us because for this 20 years, we're fighting through our work with the fundamentalist people, with against extremists, through our TV drama, movies. So it's really dangerous, not only for us, for all the people, not only they facing with lots of challenges, and also their work security is not safe to Afghanistan. But as you say about the hope, you know, I'm honestly, sometimes I'm thinking the game is, you know, this is in the hand of the other people. We are as a part of society. We are the people who work and fighting and struggle for the to rebuild a best good society, and for women's rights, human rights. We work, we raise our voice. We're a part of society, but unfortunately, the Afghanistan situation is in the political side. It's really complicated, and it's not easy that you thinking that. I think that, of course, we're fighting, and we will we can do some things honestly in this situation. But of course, we hope, we try our best, we continue our work, we try to raise our voice through making movies, and we tell our story, even from out of Afghanistan. But I know at the same time, we will be faced with many challenges. Right now, many filmmakers, the actors, the crew, most of them they are around of the world to different countries. And even we didn't access for our facility equipments. So it's very hard time, you know, it's not easy to talk about the hope. But I think we continue. We do not stop. We will continue with lots of motivation right now and with lots of pen.
So Sandra, I mean, you've been working with Afghan filmmakers since the first time you went to Afghanistan, and afterwards you collaborated with quite a few filmmakers in installations in Germany, and also other projects and festivals, so on and so forth. So what do you think the future beckons, and actually how could supporters of Afghan cinema, Afghan women filmmakers, how could their supporters help from the outside?
Actually, I mean, during the last couple of weeks, what we have been doing is very basically, I mean, it was really helping people to find support in our governments, but also internationally, to do basic works of getting people out. I mean, sorry, this is just something, such an urgency, and it's still going on. Although it's not in the media, it's a daily work. I mean, it's like, sorry, it's like being in touch with people who still are in the country, and negotiations with the governments here, which is super difficult in Germany, for example, in the moment, because we just had the elections, so there is a shift now in the government. So Germany accepted only a few people until now, but we are connected internationally, and doing very basic, simple work. We're having lists of people, collecting passport data of people, helping people to get on. It's just something very basic. So, sorry, this is now more on the level of a kind of straightforward support and doing bureaucratic work. And to be honest, I don't know actually what would be appropriate. I mean, I know that colleagues organize a gathering in November in Cologne. So unfortunately, I cannot be there because I'm involved in something else. Sarah, you are going. So I think there are now initiatives to somehow gather people, but I think still everybody is struggling. And also those who we got now, friends of mine or colleagues who we helped, who are now outside somewhere in France or wherever they ended up to be, that is now another support that is needed very basically to get the permission to stay. And so it's kind of, so it's not thinking about filmmaking at the moment, but really on a very basic needs of how to settle somewhere. And it's very hard if only one small part of the family was able to leave, because they are the key people and they cannot take the rest of the family, because so that's I don't know, it's something I'm a lot involved in at the moment. So and so it's still on a very basic level, but just on helping people to settle and to maybe establish a new life somewhere. So that is where I would say I am right now with that. And yes.
Yeah, because actually I was asking Sandra because Sandra, for example, in the past, I mean, in better times, you've collaborated, you've invited Afghan filmmakers to Germany for joint collaborations, for example, in an exhibition called Stagings, where you had Diana Saqeb, you have Sahraa to actually jointly screen their films. But maybe this is hopefully was something for the future when everybody is safe. I think, as you said, this is probably the priority at this point in time for filmmakers to be safe. So maybe I'm sure there will be some questions from the audience, questions that they would like to ask Sarah, Roya, and Sandra. So maybe we'll just open it up to the floor and we'll see whether anybody would want to ask questions. I mean, if you have questions, please raise your hand and my colleague will pass you the microphone. That lady over
there. I want to ask this question to Sarah. For now, what values do Afghan films hold in this era? Like in the Taliban world, has it changed, or how has it changed?
So when I was still till the end of it, till the end of moment I was in Kabul on 15th of August when I saw that Taliban entered the city, so I forced to leave. We were quite in good shape. We were producing, and we also launched national film festival and also educational program, production, documentary filmmaking, short filmmaking. We had some issues with directors always, because it was totally new, because we wanted international standards, we wanted to make films, so we demanded particular forms and norms, which people they weren't so familiar. So we always had some fights and struggles, but we were in the good shape and we were doing some good films. And this year we had the premiere of our short films, and we had also like this month we would have like premiere of our feature film and some documentary films. Unfortunately, they're in Afghan Film. So at that time, when I forced to leave Afghanistan because it was in the middle of the day that they entered the cities. I was totally surprised. So everybody told me that you should leave, because I was quite loudly, I am still very loudly anti-Taliban figure. So I think in generally, I myself as an artist, as a filmmaker, many people, they don't need to like accept me, because I am very straightforward, and I tell whatever I think I tell. So I had in normal society like Afghanistan, I had many struggles. So if I stayed, so I would be killed like in Taliban, because I would tell them what I think about them. So I forced to leave, and then they didn't do anything almost 1 month. And after 1 month, they called me. They called me and they asked me where I am, and I said that I am outside, and they said that they are going to replace like to somebody else. I said this is as you wish, but I'm not. And they said that if I want to resign, I said I'm not going to resign. I am, but if you want to replace me, then go ahead. Then a few days later, they just sent somebody else instead of me. He's a Qari. Qari is a person who knows how to perfectly read Quran, our holy book. So he's there. And as far as I know, they don't do nothing. They just go to office and they just sign this book of that I was here and I was like working. They don't have any idea what to do. So the only thing that I could do is that I just made a very overall report about the financial part, about the productions, about the production in progress and everything. And I just sent the report to them, and I just ensured that the financial part is there, and we spend this amount of money. So I did just administrative things, like, because it was my duty. It was part of my duty. But as far as I understand from their approach to art, to cinema, and to film, they're not going to do like super like internationally successful film according to because they don't know it. Those people that they knew very well, they left, and some of them that they know how to work also, they are not going to have any proper work. So as before, they will do some propaganda videos or some recordings, some interviews, some ceremonies, but they are not going to make any film that we call film. And so it is now in the hand of Taliban, and in general, Taliban, they don't know about how to run the government in general, and I think they don't know how to run Ministry of Culture and Information and Afghan Film in particular, because in Afghan Film, it is not just about thinking about the stories or writing stories. It is almost about, it is also technically.
I think we lost Sarah here for a bit. I mean, because of the unsteady connections, but also what Sarah was the head of Afghan Film, and I think Afghan Film is important because it also operates the National Film Archive, which contains a lot of historical footage from the history of Afghan cinema and also from the history of Afghanistan. So documentation is also of paramount importance. So we are actually worried what the Taliban will do to the archive, because the first time around, when they first ruled Afghanistan from 1996 to 2001, actually they tried to destroy everything in the vaults. So it's only because of the courage of the officials or of the people working there that a lot of films were saved. So actually, what Roya and Sandra, what do you think about the future of all this documentation? Because it's important for the work of both of you. For example, for Roya, for your own films. For Sandra, you worked with a lot of archived footage and films as well in your work about Afghan cinema. So what do you think, what are your fears? Are you worried about, the loss of this part of heritage in Afghan cinema?
I should talk?
Yes, maybe we can, Roya and Sandra.
Because I talk a lot. So
no, it's not that. But maybe actually we can also see what Roya and Sandra, what do you think of this threat to Afghanistan's national film heritage?
Yeah, we're worried about the archive, because right now, some film company, and also beside the film company, other media like TV station, they have many footage. And for example, in Royal Film House, we have a good archive from our works, from documentary film, TV series. Lots of them, especially our last TV series, Third Line, the subject was talking about the root of fundamentalism and the extremism in Afghanistan. So lots of sensitive things inside of this archive. So all the filmmakers, and we are worried because we cannot take them out from the office, but we try to put them in the safe location right now. They're still in Kabul, but in the safe location. And generally in Afghan film also, I think 3 or 4 years, before 4 years, the main archive of Afghan film that is coming from maybe 18 years old or 70 years old, something, the government, the president bring all of them inside of the castle. This is also right now, I think, more dangerous, because in the castle, inside of the castle, there is always the political situation, and they always change right now, not that president, and right now it's the Taliban. And not only, I'm not worried that they burn them or they destroyed them. So I'm worried to have this archive should be safe and not removing something behind of them. Maybe the history have, in the history of archive, we have some things that maybe they're not only the Taliban, that the people who support the Taliban, they didn't like most of them, their video. So we're worried about that. And also, as you talk about the working for making movie inside of Afghanistan. Right now, when the Taliban ignored the women from society, how you can make a film without the women? How you can have a life without the women? This is, I think it's very difficult that we can continue inside of Afghanistan, the filmmaker continue inside of Afghanistan.
So Sandra, as a researcher, as a researcher and an artist who've worked with Afghan filmmakers and also on Afghan cinema, what do you think about this threat?
Well, I am actually also very worried about the films that are now anachronistically, they are under good conditions now in terms of climate conditions, which has been really a big problem before with the films, for the physical condition that was when they were stored at Afghan films. So in a way, you know, this moving to the citadel or to the castle was a good thing, but at the same time now it's a bad thing. So it's kind of, I find it a bit tragic actually, because of course the films, the materiality was about to dissolve. I remember that we showed the film Farah Escape by Latif Ahmadi in Berlin at the film festival, and we hardly could show it. I mean, that the projectionist was like super scared that if she would make it run, that it would get destroyed. So it was like, and she's very careful with material, and it was very valuable to her as well, and to us as well, to everybody. So at the same time, there has been done a lot of work of digitizing films, which is also going on right now with the Cineteca Bologna, with different places. So I think that these are only a few films that are already brought out. So I think for the history, it's a short history, but it's an important history also of these films that go further back in history to until the 1940s or 1960s. It would be, hopefully they will not be destroyed actually, because I find, at least from an international perspective, they have not been showed enough. There is not enough knowledge about them. There have been some initiatives, but it would be, I mean, it would be an incredible loss to lose them, apart from the filmmakers who cannot bring their material now, Roya, what you are now saying. And I mean, many have to travel very light, and it's extremely difficult to know that you have material somewhere where others have to take care of it, and it's a danger actually also to keep that material. It's not easy for those who actually have to hide it or to keep it somewhere. So I think there are also different kind of archives. It's not only the archive in the castle. So as you said, there's the TV archives, there are the personal archives of the filmmakers. So this is a lot of, I mean, there are many different archives that are threatened. So, and I don't know what we can, I mean, there will also be meetings around that, but I think this is coming up now slowly because so many people are still busy with things on a daily basis, as I just mentioned, but there are already discussions around that actually.
Can I just explain something about archives? Unfortunately, I think that what happened for our archives these last 20 years, like Afghan film archives in general, that it was disaster because for almost 15 years, nobody cared about it. They were in very bad conditions. They got to black market with very low quality through YouTube or any channel they show. And then there was a deal, I think, between the previous Afghan film director and also President Palace and other people that they moved the archives to Palace, to presidential palace, because they have a kind of priest or basement, they have a place and basements that they could like take care of them. When I joined Afghan Film, in the first weeks I went there and I visited the archives and I saw the conditions. Of course, the digitalization process is very slow, but it is there. And also some other countries like Canada, some part of France or Germany, they also made some digitalization of some films. And but I had many meetings with them, with the head of archives and those people there were in charge, that we want like to have access to archives. But unfortunately, we as Afghan Film, we couldn't have access easily to archives. For example, if we wanted some shots for some documentary film, or if we wanted some shots for some filmmakers, they asked for their films, we couldn't easily get access to those archives. So, and also there was, I found out few weeks ago when I was in Bonn, because I think Sandra, you know Susan Annen.
Who? Susan? No.
Susan Annen. She was in charge of kind of digitalization of our archives, and I saw the proposal and everything that our government, Afghan Film, I mean Ministry of Culture, they got almost $1 million for digitalization of those films few years ago, but we didn't see anything of them. So there are like this the first problem with like National Archives, Afghan Film, and the other thing is that unfortunately during these past 20 years there wasn't any specific system to do archives like current archives, because it means that we didn't have anything inside Afghan Film. When I joined Afghan Film, there was any contemporary films, like they had copy of films, but in very bad quality. And we started like to do this kind of archives. So we asked people to send their films. We asked like to have films or copy of them. But we just started, and like British Council, they help us with a very big storage and also with the hard disk. So we have almost copy of all of these films during these past 20 years, but just copy, not that I'm not talking about the quality, but just copy of those films, and we have like title of films, but unfortunately we couldn't get it out, because it was so quick, and the only thing that I could do is that I just called them, you should hide it. One person should take it and hide it, and not telling even me or anybody, and then we will decide about those films, because we have our own films, Afghan films too. But regarding archives and any kind of like saving stories of Afghanistan, unfortunately, Ministry of Culture in general didn't do anything. And Afghan Film is a very small office without Afghan Film doesn't have authority. It has a big name, but a lot of authority Afghan Film didn't have. We didn't have access to our archives. We didn't have access to any kind of copyright laws and something. So this lack of having like a specific system, unfortunately, but with the only thing that Afghan Film did this past few weeks before the fall of Kabul, we helped Tulu TV, which is a very famous commercial TV. We helped them. They sent their material to somewhere. We gave quickly permission within few minutes, and we called to airports to help them to get out those materials. And I hope that Roya's last series also gets saved and in somewhere else. Yeah.
Actually, I will, even with this very brief discussion, we already talked about a lot of things. For example, well, archives. Well, this is something that the Forbidden Reel, I mean, a documentary that we are going to show in our program. Ariel Nasra actually talked about the archive, but also about the complications in governance in Afghanistan. This is, again, something that Roya's film, A Letter to the President, actually showed as well. The complications of the political system, the justice and injustice in that. And actually, well, Roya, a letter to the president, it will be shown next Sunday. And then Roya will actually be coming back to join us for a post-screening question and answer session.
I just need to add something that regarding Forbidden Reel, for example, we help them a lot, and they also return back the material and also digitalize the films. And we had, because of this collaboration, we had a kind of MOU with National Film Board of Canada for future projects, Afghan Film, like as an organization, you know. Because of the long bureaucratic process, because of like our government wasn't able to do like this international collaborations, it took it took like almost 2 years to get to that MOU, and we had this MOU to sign like 2 weeks ago, but we couldn't because this is collapse of. So this is a lot of. It is not just about us as a filmmakers, but there were a lot of issues and struggles as a government that we cannot save many things because of lack of system, you know, like. So Forbidden Reel, it is a great film, and they did very great job to digitalize those films, and those films we return back to palettes, to the archives where is in palettes. So you know, we even don't have access to those materials too.
Okay, so I think actually we just touched on the surface of a lot of issues that we want to talk about today, but sadly we are sort of out of time. So maybe we have to leave it here. But of course, our program on Afghan cinema continues. As I just mentioned, of course, Sahra's film, Hava, Maryam, Ayesha will be screened again. And of course, A Letter to the President will be shown in our festival as well, and with Roya returning to talk about her film again. And also Sandra, whose documentation of Osama and also other clips that she sent me, but we don't have enough time to show it. I'm sorry, Sandra. But actually, they are also crucial in the understanding of Afghan cinema. So thank you so much, Sahraa, Roya, Sandra, for joining us today for this panel, for this talk. Shall we extend a round of applause to our three speakers, Sahraa Karimi, Roya Sadat, and Sandra Schafer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay,
and
thank you so much, and hopefully we can talk about Afghan cinema again in another panel, in another occasion in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.